My name is Selivan and I am the author of Lexical Grammar, which is a new book just published by the Cambridge University Press. I was lucky to start my teaching career with the British Council, where I taught adult and teen learners before moving into teacher training and materials development. In 2011 and 2012, I think, I started my own blog called Lexical, where I published various activities focusing on teaching lectures. And this is how Scott Thornbury, the series editor for the Cambridge Handbooks for Teachers series, noticed me and asked me whether I would be interested to write a book for the series. I said yes, and I was really excited, privileged in fact, to work with Scott Thornbury. So the idea behind Lexical Grammar is that there's much closer link between vocabulary and grammar than many teachers like to think, or many textbooks present, with separate pages devoted to grammar practice and separate sections for vocabulary exercises. So what this book does is bridges the gap between vocabulary and grammar, hence the title, Lexical Grammar. It builds on the work of Dave Willis and Michael Lewis, who drew in their work extensively on corpus research available already at that time in the late 80s and 90s. But my book brings in new evidence, psycholinguistic evidence, which shows that language learners, or language acquirers if you like, indeed learn language in that fashion by learning whole chunks of language rather than grammar and vocabulary separately, and then combining the two to produce sentences. So a lot of language learning consists of learning of whole, ready-made chunks of language, and that's why the subtitle of the book is Working with Chunks of Language. What I say by chunks of language is things like "it doesn't matter," or "I don't know," or "I haven't seen you for ages," which can be initially presented to learners, practiced and memorized as ready-made wholes. Then this pattern can serve as a basis for building learners' emerging grammar system. If I had to pick one activity, one chapter in the book, which is not a very easy thing to do because I like all of the whole book, but if I had to choose one, I guess it would be the 5th chapter, which is called From Words to Grammar. In fact, one of the original titles that was proposed for the book was From Words to Grammar, before we decided on the name Lexical Grammar. So what I show in that chapter is how you can combine teaching vocabulary with elements of grammar. So how you can start teaching words and slowly bring in grammatical structures. And I show, for example, how many grammatical structures can be taught as vocabulary items in the early stages of learning. So, for example, things like "I haven't seen you for ages" can be taught as you would teach any other vocabulary words without delving into grammar analysis. And then slowly, when learners accumulate these entities, then more productive patterns become to emerge. So starting with chunks of language and then slowly moving to patterns in a language. Hence the subtitle of this book, Exploring Patterns and Working with Chunks. It's all very easy, saying, let's just teach lots of chunks of language, but how do teachers go about it in practical terms? Because they have lots of other things to cover, listening skills, reading skills, speaking, etc. So what I did in the book is divided into chapters such as chunks and listening, or chunks in reading, to show how teachers do not need to throw away their course book. They can bring in this element, this lexical element, lexical dimension, if you like, into their teaching by incorporating focus on lexical chunks while they're doing other work, such as listening practice, or working on reading skills, or working on students' writing. So I hope the readers of my book enjoy using it. I hope it will help them see language in a new light, and that it will ultimately benefit their students, who will become more proficient in English.